Morning, everybody. As you're joining another sort of Monday motivation session, we are joined by the the one and only Ed Jordan, which we're very excited to see today. Um, Ed, I'm sure is known to many. I mean, from his wonderful musical days to then moving into financial services for nearly 10 years. Brilliant at sort of change management. When we were over in the US, we were doing a speaker showcase in Las Vegas. Ed joined us, and one of the big buzzwords over there is fear and uncertainty, as you can imagine, around the world with what's going on. And of course, Ed was front and center, you know, with a lot of the global conference organizers. Also, really impressed the fact that he could MC as well as facilitate and do wonderful keynotes to the audience. You know, as we've mentioned before, we have this five-star methodology with speakers. You know, you get a whole star just for having respect for the customer, just getting involved, rolling up your sleeves, and just being part of the team. And after, you know, we've known Ed for years, but after spending 4 days with him in Las Vegas, I have to say, guys, he gets an extra half a star, to be honest, five and a half star. So an absolute pleasure and a joy to work with. And of course, he has a recent accomplishment by winning from the Professional Speakers Association. He won an award for Best Speaker in the UK and Ireland. So, you know, he's just really getting out there around the globe, and it's just so good to see. But yeah, that's it from me. Over to you, Ed.
Thank you very, very much. And good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with the USB and the USBI team. My talk's called Walk in Winning. I'm going to just hit the old timer and get going for the next 20 minutes to give you a flavor of really what my talk and messaging is all about. So on the back of what Paul just shared about the themes that are really prevalent around the world today, mental wellness, stress at the workplace, etc., and of course, the looming AI, replacing people for menial jobs, etc., etc. So my talk's called Walking Winning, and I'm going to kick off with one of my favorite words in the English language. It's a Yiddish word, I suppose, a Hebrew word, chutzpah. So if you're sitting at your desk and it's 9 o'clock in South Africa, just if you're in a private room, just say chutzpah. Get that real, almost Afrikaans sound at the beginning, chutzpah. It's a wonderful word to start your week, chutzpah. And grab a pen, scribble down what you think chutzpah means. What does chutzpah mean? You might think cheekiness, boldness, maybe some rude words are popping into your head right now. Guts, grit. But if you Google, the wiki definition is extreme self-confidence or audacity. So chutzpah really means being audacious and extremely self-confident. And for those of you who might be on the call and never heard this word before, or you might have heard it, you don't really know what it means. Imagine if all of us on the call right now were at a networking event, and it's proudly brought to you by USB, and Paul says to us all beforehand, listen, the CEO is going to arrive at this networking event. Please don't go and speak to them unless I've done the formal introduction. So just wait until that, please. And you find yourself at the event, a couple of drinks, it's after work, with your colleagues and friends, and you look across the room and you suddenly see the CEO Paul was talking about. And they're really powerful, they're really famous, and they're in a VIP area. And you go, should I or shouldn't I? And your mind says, Paul said, no, stop, behave yourself. But you can't help it because you keep looking across, you think, good heavens, I think I've got a connection with the CEO. Our kids, I think, are at the same school. So there's an entry point. And almost as if by magic, your foot swings around and you move across the room. And all your friends at USB and all the colleagues and mates you know from South Africa are going, stop, Ed, what are you doing? Paul said no, but you keep walking. And you walk into the VIP area, make eye contact, and introduce yourself to the CEO. And that moment in time changes your career trajectory forever. Just that 1 minute conversation. There's a connection, there's eye contact, there's meaningful discussion, there's a link. And what happens is Paul initially is quite cross, as are the team at USB. You were told not to do it. But once they see how happy the CEO is, they forgive you. So chutzpah really is that spark that gets us over the hump of fear. Now, I'm willing to bet that everybody on this call our USBR team, and all our guests today, and all those watching the video, I'm willing to bet that all of you got to where you are today because you had a little bit of chutzpah. But I'm also willing to bet that many of us and our teams, since COVID, have had the chutzpah knocked out of us. Let's have a look at some of the facts. 1 in 3 South African employees experience depression, anxiety, or stress symptoms at work. I'm sure you can see this. Mental health conditions cost the South African economy more than 200 billion rands annually. That's from Sanlam Health Solutions report. Across sub-Saharan Africa, this is the looming AI threat, I suppose, the buzzword that everyone's talking about at the moment. It does make people feel uneasy. 60% of our jobs that can be automated will be automated, and this drives workplace anxiety. Where I'm based in the UK now, the UK economy loses 51 billion pounds a year because of sick days, absenteeism, and people not being present at work because of stress. And we've just come back, as Paul mentioned, from the States. So I did some research about what's going to happen worldwide in the US economy. $1 trillion annually lost in productivity because of anxiety, depression. And this is going to go to 16 trillion globally by 2030. So where is this all coming from? And I'm going to show you on this graph, this anxiety zone. It's in the sweet spot in the middle of this slide in what's called the neutral zone. So take a screenshot if you're sitting at your desk. This is a lovely adaptation of the famous William Bridges Managing a Transition Journey. And what happens with changes, as something new comes into our world, let's say at the world of work, you've got a new system, a new process, a new technology. You get a small portion of early adopters who are open, but most people avoid it at first, and then they resist it. And over time, they get to a stage where they're quite affair with it, they understand how it works, but then this is the problem. You get into what's called a neutral zone, where if there's a lack of movement and momentum, and in South Africa we say yes around the new change, you don't get into the new beginnings and refocusing quick enough. This is where that uneasy feeling of not being safe and not trusting things comes in. You've seen the new stuff arrive, you've adopted it, and there isn't that follow through to get you into renewal and refocusing. Now, I love this slide because we can all apply this to ourselves every single day. We wake up, and the pace of technology, we all agree, is super fast. It's going to get faster and faster as we move over the next 5 years ad infinitum. So we get these new ideas, new ways of work. And our goal, I think, as leading self and leading others, is to try and get us and our teams through this neutral zone, once we've adopted the new way of work, into renewal and refocusing. That's pretty much what today's about. Right. 21 years ago, I was in Joey's and was invited to a cricketing breakfast at the Wanderers. Now, many of you may be cricket fans or not, but I suppose in South Africa, most of the audience in South Africa today, also our international audience. For those of you in America, cricket is like baseball. It just takes longer. In this case, 5 days. So the beginning of a 5-day test, they always have a breakfast. And I wanted to go and see Tim Rice, who are a fantastic composer and lyricist, who was speaking at the breakfast. So I went to watch Tim, and then the second speaker stood up. Now, this is at a South African cricket breakfast playing Australia in a 5-day test. The guy's name was Kim Hughes, the ex-cricket captain from Australia. So he stood in front of a packed Wanderers room, probably about 400 people, and he looked at the audience and he said, "The thing is, we've already won. I know it, you know it, everyone back home in Australia knows it. We've already won." Now you can imagine the South African audience were all a bit thrown by this. It's a bit of a strange thing to say. How dare you say that? That's ridiculous. He made eye contact with the audience and he said, "We teach our children in Australia to walk onto the field of play as if they've already won. This does two things. It binds the team together with camaraderie and esprit de corps, but it also disables and disarms the opponent. Not arrogance, ladies and gentlemen, but sheer self-confidence and belief. Then he went on to say that he knew that that day there'd be some drop catches and a run-out decision that didn't go their way, but it didn't matter because they'd already won. There's a tradition in the Australian team that the youngest player puts the drinks in the fridge before they walk onto the field of play. So as they walk out, are the drinks in the fridge? Yes, they are, because they've already won. So they can see it, feel it, and taste their victory condition. Get your drinks in the fridge for the end of the day. Okay, I love this idea. And this concept of walking on or walking in to a situation, winning, is something that I've just loved and cherished for the last 21 years. I'm going to combine that today with a personal mantra, which goes like this: breathe, believe, and be brave. With breathe, we're going to look at physical and mental well-being. Believe, we're going to talk about purpose. And being brave, we're going to look at what courage really means. Let's start off with breathe. This is a picture of my dad holding me upside down when I was 6 months old in Namibia during one of his many hunting trips. Now, I'm showing this picture to you for two reasons. One is that my dad is still alive. He's 90 years old and he's a 3 times cancer survivor. I believe the reason for this, his surviving cancer 3 times and being alive and well today, is that he walks every single day. There's a crossword for his mind still, but he walks. He gets out of his wheelchair now and he walks every single day. A great leader, a great father, a great man. But as you can see from a very early age, the second reason I'm showing the picture is that he taught me to see the world from a different angle, to see things upside down or back to front, if you will. And I think it's a gift he gave me, and what I'm going to share with you today really is to see and then walk backwards. This is a lady called Amy Cuddy, who many of you may be familiar with. I'm going to share some of the people that have inspired me and shaped me throughout my career. Most of them quite controversial and might sort of trigger all sorts of different kinds of feelings. I love them because they've helped shape me. A controversial figure is our wonderful Amy Cuddy. Now, if you're sitting at your desk at work, just get your chin up and your shoulders back. And if you're in a room by yourself, please stand up. Let's get some blood going around your body before we start our day today in South Africa, wherever you're dialing in from. Amy Cuddy is famous for inventing the Wonder Woman pose. You can look it up. It's quite a controversial study she did at Harvard. I love it because her and her team at Harvard worked out that if you stand with your hands on your hips, feet shoulder width apart, and your chin up, for 2 minutes, it lowers your cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone that whizzes around our body when we're in fight or flight mode. So it calms us down, helps us center. I like to combine this Wonder Woman stance that she invented with block breathing that I learned as a young actor at Wits at the drama school. So if you're sitting at your desk, just do some block breathing with me now. In for 3, hold for 4, out for 5. Let's go. In for 3, hold it for 4, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, out for 5. Let's do that again. In for 3, hold it for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, out for 5. Now, next time you've got a work situation that's challenging you've got to deal with, or family situation that's tricky and you've got to deal with, or presentation you've got to give, find a room, shut the door, stand with your chin up. You'll feel lots of tension in your neck. That's called tech neck. from having your cell phones and looking down all the time. Get your chins up, shoulders back, and do some block breathing. One last time. Let's go. In for 3. Hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out for 5. Okay, get back into your seats if you have been standing, and hopefully that's got us into a bit of a zone. I find this hugely helpful to slow down, get into a thinking zone, because the next thing I'm going to speak about is a time to think. Now, one of the best investments I ever made in myself was spending a day in Houghton in Johannesburg with Nancy Klein. Nancy is a psychologist from America who lives in Oxford. She wrote a book called A Time to Think. And the premise for her work is that every single person on this call all know what you have to do. All of us do. Everyone on the call does. You know what you have to do for your health, your retirement, your children, their education, your savings, your investments. You all know. No one has time to think about it. Think about your days. You probably zoom through the traffic to get to work today. You've got this call on, you're multitasking, and you probably forget to eat lunch. You pick the kids up, you get home, you make dinner, and it's Tuesday, then it's Wednesday, then there's load shedding, then there's Thursday, then Saturday comes along, you're bombarded with family stuff, and then Sunday comes along, which should be the most rejuvenating day of the week, but it's not, because families are complicated and complex. You've got the difficult aunt, the weird sister-in-law, the very, very tricky cousin who arrives at 3:30 in the afternoon uninvited, throwing us. In the old days, I suppose there still is in South Africa, carte blanche, showing us pictures of baby elephants. Oh dear, that always used to upset me so much. So really depressing sort of newsreels being shown. And then in England, they call it, it's a huge stress and anxiety that we get every single Sunday. That freaks everybody out before the week. And then suddenly it's Monday again, then Tuesday, and then you're 80 and you've never had time to sit and think about you. Nancy says the quality of everything we do depends on the quality of the thinking we do first. At the beginning of this year, I signed up for a songwriting course with Brian Eno, 1,000 students across the world. He was unbelievable because he kept asking us, what are you giving your attention to? I'm asking you this now. We've done some breathing. We're thinking about our busy lives, how to calm ourselves down for mental health. Brian says, what are you paying attention to? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you think about? Now, if you can carve out 10 minutes a day to start thinking about your future self, here's a wonderful principle I'd like you to think about. Dr. Peter Senge from MIT, you can look this video up on YouTube, it's absolutely brilliant, explains the engineering principle. You can see I've got a rubber band, an elastic band. And he explains the engineering principle that tension always seeks to resolve itself to the more stable state. Think about those bridges in San Francisco where the stable state's here, a little bit of flexibility down here. So this tension is called creative tension. Now, if you're focused on your preferred future, on your goals, your dreams, the picture of the life the way you want it to be, and you're crystal clear about it, look what happens to your current reality. It gets pulled up towards it. That's the engineering principle. However, if you're focused down here at lack and all the problems you have in your life and not having enough, look what happens to your hopes and dreams. They get pulled down towards your current reality. Nice principle to think about. Let's move on now to believe. Now, on the call, I don't know how many of you are familiar with rowing. Rowing is a mad sport. I remember asking Roger Barrow, the coach of the South African rowing team, why we couldn't beat the New Zealanders. I said, why can't we beat these guys? We're fitter than them. We're stronger than them. And Roger looked at me and said, because they've got a reason. You can't beat someone with a reason. Viktor Frankl said famously, as did Friedrich Nietzsche, he who has a why can undergo almost any how. That means if you're crystal clear on your reason, on your why, then you can do just about anything. I was lucky enough to meet Archbishop Desmond Tutu when I was just a boy singing in the Anglican Church in South Africa. I was 12 years old when I first sang for him, and he gave me a huge hug afterwards. He saw me the next year and I'd shot up a bit. He looked at me and said, what are they feeding you? And gave me another hug. I loved Archbishop Desmond Tutu because when he preached to us, he connected with us, painting a picture of a new South Africa and a new world and how we should live together. What an amazing leader, always at the front of every march. What an incredible man. I met Mike Tyson, also a little bit taller than Archbishop Desmond Tutu, at Emperor's Palace in Johannesburg. I was so stunned by his height. I always thought he was bigger. When Mike was the heavyweight champion of the world, no one could beat him because his story was bigger than the sport itself. Also an incredible athlete, obviously. We play France on Saturday. And if you're a rugby enthusiast and expert, maybe you look at the French team and think, probably a bit better than us. But we're going to beat them because our story is bigger than the sport itself. Thought that would make you smile. Let's look at courage and being brave. When I run workshops all over the world, as Paul mentioned, I speak about what courage means. Coup from the Latin heart, and then through French with the rage we now know, courage, and the English courage. I ask my teams, what does what does it mean? And quite often people say it means being fearless. Now, I don't think courage means being fearless. I don't think you can be fearless. In fact, our beloved Madiba said, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. In other words, courage means you see the fear and you feel the fear, but then you walk through it anyway. That's what being bold and brave really means. Now, as I close off my 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you a little chutzpah story from myself. I saw this picture at the beginning of 2013, as many of us did in the newspapers, and it upset me. Those of us with elderly parents, as I mentioned, we want our parents to have dignity as they get older and older. And this picture it rattled me a bit. I think I saw it in January or February of 2013. And so with a bit of chutzpah, I went into a recording studio and I sang a tribute and wrote and sang and recorded a tribute to our beloved Madiba, which I sent through to the radio station on the day that he passed away, and they played it. I got a bit of pushback for that online, but it didn't matter because I really wanted to show how much I loved and admired Nelson Mandela. And I got a call from Desmond Tutu's office saying, please, would I come and sing it at his memorial service on the Monday before the 3-day funeral? And of course, I leapt at the opportunity. You can see my hero, Peter Gabriel, is in the second row, taking pictures of our beloved Archbishop Desmond Tutu as he led the service. Here he is with Peter behind and everyone praying and singing. So I thought in closing, I'd give you just a couple of lines from the song, and then we'll close this up and open for questions. The song went like this. One more for my country, one more for the road. The road goes on forever. We'll never walk alone. With the rainbow all around us, the rain is gonna dry. We're gonna miss you forever until the day we die. We're gonna miss you, Madiba, until the day we die. As I finished singing, I fell into the arms of our beloved Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He held me close and said, what does it feel? Actually, what he said was, young man, you must get to work now. Everyone on the call, all of us have work to do on ourselves so we can lead our teams. Please remember this mantra for the rest of your lives. Breathe, believe, and be brave. And walk in winning, because the winning is walking in each and every one of you. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, I've gone 1 minute over time, so we do have some time for questions. Before we get there, though, I just wanted to make mention of a wonderful offering that USB and the USBI team have, which is a partnership they have with a Mood at Work assessment. How this works is just reach out to anyone on the call or at USBI. It's a free assessment that you do. It's a powerful tool to get insight into your organization's needs. And then what we do at USB, we tailor our talks for what your needs are. So please ask about the Mood at Work. And also, you can see how much I evidently love South Africa and my parents and my dad. And my dad's still rocking, and I get any chance I get to see him, I leap at. So it's very easy for me to hop on a plane and whiz down to SA. I do that quite often, so I'm often in South Africa, should you wish to book me. Also, I love giving online presentations, as hopefully you can tell from today as well. So please reach out. We've got a great rate for online, and we can do lunch and learns, which are quite a nice sort of power hour with Q&As, etc. So on that note, I'm going to hand back to Paul. Thank you for joining us today, and back to you, Paul.
Thanks. And I've still got goosebumps. I mean, seriously, what a powerful ending, and a lovely reminder just how iconic you are and still are in South Africa. You know, you're a legend, and a humble one at that. So yeah, we would, and I hear you, Ed. You want to get back to South Africa, and let's make that happen. There's a couple of questions. Brian's got one, from Better Place to Work. He's always got good questions. What practical steps would you recommend to unlock that dormant chutzpah gene and inspire people to navigate change effectively? in the evolving world?
Okay, so in a workplace, right off the bat, I've been so lucky throughout my life to have mentors. Now, this is something in some organizations, they have a structured mentorship program. And other situations, one has to be bold and brave enough to write to someone to ask them for, I suppose, championship is one word, to be a champion for you or to be a mentor for you. Just going back to rugby, it's something that the New Zealand team do very, very well. And we're still getting right as South Africans. They use older, more wise and experienced players to help their young people. So I think to sort of give one a grounding, especially when you're arriving in a new corporate system, the first thing to do would be to have a person. Otherwise, it's so lonely and frightening. It's very often isn't your line manager because that relationship is quite transactional. You're there to do a job. But to find someone in your organization that you can meet for once every 2 months for a coffee and they can say, how are you? And you can say, I'm really battling with this. And they can say, oh, good heavens, I've had similar things. This is what I suggest you do. Mentorship, I think, it'd be the first thing that I'd answer as a short answer. I suppose how to unlock that. I think we are product of the people that we surround ourselves with. And I think as we move into a new year, perhaps it's time to do an audit. You can sort of think about who I'm spending most of my time with at work and my friend group, etc. Who believes in me, who's uplifting me, who's in the same path as me, and then perhaps recalibrate and reconfigure for 2026. Hope that helps.
I think it does, Ed. And then you have given us a couple of tools as well in the background, about our thinking, how we shape our thinking. What are we thinking towards, and will probably help to unlock that chutzpah gene too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got the right mindset on what we're thinking.
Yeah.
Well, brilliant. I mean, there's a lot of conference organizers that listen to listen to this call, and some of them don't know you as well as some do. So what would you say is your favorite kind of conference to get involved in? I mean, obviously banking services is very close to your heart. You had 10 years working in that kind of environment with some of the top executives. You felt the pain points, the challenges day in, day out. I mean, you mentioned a few to me, broadly speaking, of course. So is that your sweet spot? Yeah. Internal conferencing events, and I mean, I've seen you on someone during COVID and some of the talks that you gave, when there was thousands of people on the call and the chat just never stopped. They were loving it. So I know you have a lot to give.
Okay, well, let me do a ramble for those who don't know me, and perhaps this will help. So I think from a conferencing perspective, my gift is one of energy. I've been blessed with boundless energy. And so what I do, let's say a 1-day conference or a 2-day conference, is that I take the weight and the pressure off your C-suite executives so that they look good by gluing all the segments together, to squishing time, to stretching wherever needs be, to running panel discussions with energy, chutzpah, drive, light, joy, but really taking all the weight off the running of that kind of event off the actual business itself. So I love doing that. When it comes to motivational and inspirational keynotes, I'm a great way to start, a great way to close, or a great way to lift up the energy after a lunch session with a 40-minute keynote, perhaps on wellness, whatever the case may be, and inspiration. Another sort of added extra that I bring is from a musical side, so that during a conference, for example, if there's a lull, I can pop a backtrack on and sing an uplifting song. We've all done our famous hippo dances for emergencies at USB. It's a record company that I started with some friends in South Africa. So we maybe bring one or two, musical aspect in. I think is a unique differentiator for me. So another thing is that, same as you, Paul, I'm not one of those guys that come into a conference and then leave. I'm there for the day. I network. I become part of the family. I join in with whatever's happening to keep the energy up, and as opposed to just arriving and leaving. That's definitely part of what I offer as well. I'm all in.
No, you are it. That was a great summary, actually, and I took out of that you just create amazing experiences before, during, and after, which is what we're all about at Unique Speaker Bureau International too. So, Ed, great. We're bang smack on time. I mean, of course, we'd expect nothing less from you. There aren't any more questions in the chat at the moment. I think everybody's taken it all in, and I think a lot of our customers will watch the recording. It's really lovely to see you, Ed. Appreciate you making the effort this morning. Thank you. Back to Kathy to close off.
You're on mute, Kathy.
So, yeah. Thanks very much, Ed. That was really great, especially for a Monday morning, just getting that energy and chutzpah up and going. And exactly what you were saying now about what you can do for organizations. I think there's sort of no reason why they shouldn't, whether it's from emceeing to workshops to anything. And I think that energy is something really vital for people to get just motivated, really, and use these tools that you've given them. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So next week we've got Tom Abbott. He's an author and an expert on the topic of sales optimism and optimization, and he's delivered hundreds of motivational sales keynotes. And he hails from Singapore, and next Monday he'll be on at 9 o'clock.
Rated one of the best sales speakers in the world, Kathy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.